Hello, this is Parker Breezeblock, Parker Thomas Breezeblock, first of his name, and once again, you are watching the Iridescent. Today's art is a beautiful landscape painting, less abstract than I normally go with, but it was created by a dear friend of mine, and I just need to promote his work because I need him to paint more stuff for me. And also I want the world to be able to experience the beauty of his soul as conveyed by what it is he's able to put to canvas, or at this particular instance, some sort of cardboard board of some sort. What's going on here, you might ask? Well, there's a wistful encounter going on by two mysterious individuals of ambiguous quadrupedal, probably mammalian variety. Are they dogs? Are they cats? Are they some sort of alien lizard that looks like a dog or a cat? The only thing that's certain is that they're virtually silhouettes. The decision by the artist to create figures in black represents anonymity, and he wanted to invoke the feeling that you could transpose your own identity onto either of these two mysterious individuals. They're about to have some sort of fateful encounter, who knows of what nature. This one here appears to be chasing butterflies, or maybe juggling, or maybe casting some sort of dark magics to conjure will-o'-the-wisps, to, I don't know, like glean some sort of clairvoyant message they're seeking out, like a tarot card reading or something. For that matter, this little guy over here might be coming to learn a lesson on how to do whatever it is that this guy's doing. So it's actually got a kind of master-student kind of dynamic going on here. It's actually a didactic piece for that reason. The purple flowers, because all of these flowers are purple. I don't know if you can see that. That represents royalty, okay? Because we're all kings and queens. Also, it's his favorite color. So the rolling hills are the tumultuous ups and downs of all of our lives, the emotional roller coaster of existence, as it were. And the sky, it's really warm and almost like smothers you with its warmth, right? It's love, it's comfort, it's a bond between friends and lovers, right? Sunset, probably, which is among the most romantic of times, not just in the like I love you sense, but also idealistic, right? But that's actually all bullshit. What it is there's fires going on 30 miles away, and the AQI in this painting is actually 450. So anyways, that's art. It's very contemporary. What I want to talk about today, which is what I would call the power of normal and the dangers of normalization, right? First example of that is the NFL is back, baby. That's where I'm wearing my Chargers, my San Diego Chargers sweater here, repping my team. I haven't really been excited about the NFL for a couple years now. Because the Chargers moved, and even though I moved too, it's still a kick in the nuts that they're not a San Diego team anymore, considering how much they meant to me growing up as a San Diegan and my city, and the fact that the rich douchebag owner just wanted to go where more money and influence and clout is in Los Angeles. Also, fuck LA. It's just all kinds of bad. Plus, the Chargers have been even more wildly inconsistent. Growing up, they were always a wild card team, but they were exciting for that. They scored a lot of points. They won a lot of games. They got to the playoffs all the time. I remember one year when I was in high school, they had the number one offense statistically, number one defense statistically, and still managed to lose in the first round of the playoffs that year. And probably because they were a wild card team, but that's because statistically they had the single worst special teams, 32nd ranked special teams in terms of giving up points and return yardage and shit like that. But man, was that incredible to watch. It was so exciting. The high drama, the highs and the lows, it really made you feel alive, So the NFL was a big part of me growing up and becoming a pseudo person like I am today. And for that reason, it's very stabilizing to be able to get back into it. The Chargers just started a rookie quarterback who looks like he might be the guy for the future. Our defense is looking nice. We lost last week, but it was to Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs, and like, it was a really good game, but a lot of positive things to take out of that going forward. There's a lot of promise in the air as a Bolts fan, so it's really got me on that train again. Watching the NFL, though, like most sports this year, is pretty surreal. They're playing in empty stadiums with pumped-in crowd noise. Everybody's like half-assedly wearing a mask. Well, not even everybody. The players don't wear masks. But like the coaches will always like wear a mask down here or like just over their nose. NFL coaches are hilarious. I want somebody to put together a highlight reel of just strictly NFL coaches as a tutorial video on how not to wear masks. Because these guys come up with just ridiculous ways to not fucking wear a mask. Whether it's the chin diaper, where it's not covering literally anything, Andy Reid's got the visor thing, but it also just like, there's a lot of open space for shit to just plop out. Or my personal favorite is what I'm calling the Beak-a-check. If you've seen Bill Belichick wear a mask, he's got it like folded up, just in a totally bizarre way. It covers his nose, but then he's got it like folded up so it doesn't like touch his chin, and it barely covers his mouth, but he does it on purpose, so it kind of like, when he talks, it sort of moves up and down. It looks like he wants to be wearing a plague doctor mask or something, which seems appropriate for him. So despite all that stuff, though, having football games back on TV is a very normalizing experience as a viewer. Sundays in America, for a lot of us, mainstream sports fans, are sacrificed completely to the blood god that is the NFL. 3 time slots for games. They're 3 hours each. That's 9 hours right there. Just sitting on your ass, consuming advertisements, because football is a perfect game for corporate advertisements because of all the stoppages. Consuming a copious amount of light beer, eating a bunch of shit, not going outside, and just watching NFL. If you're a hardcore NFL fan, that's what you do. And I definitely spent some seasons where the majority of my Sundays were doing that, just watching it all the time. And it feels right, It's Sunday. This is America. That's what we do. We watch football. We watch these guys whose careers last like 3 or 4 years on average, who grew up, football or bust, slam into each other for teams that exist in cities that they have no personal affinity to 99% of the time, and just giving each other brain damages and fucking blown out ACLs and all that good stuff. But it's still entertaining as shit, and it's normal. It's American. And in 2020, having something as integral to our identity and as entertaining and time-consuming as football back, what more could you want out of a distraction where everybody's begging for distractions in this time, right? And, I was giving the NBA a big old pass for that because I was sort of fascinated by the socio-scientific experiment that was the bubble. And I thought they were doing it in a way that was responsible in a format, basketball, that where it was feasible, smaller rosters. That basically that's it. Actually, smaller rosters. Oh, and the season had already mostly been over, so fewer teams, just way less people involved in general. It felt like they were going to be able to pull it off. Oh, and another thing is basketball courts don't take up nearly as much space as football fields. But in the NFL, they don't have a bubble. They're still traveling all across the country. There's, 53 guys on an active roster, plus practice players. Coaching staffs on football teams are way bigger. You just look on the TV, there's a shitload of people in those stadiums, even without fans. And some stadiums are letting fans in, I saw the highlights from the Cowboy game, and Jerry Jones wants to sell tickets still, so they pump in like 20,000 people or something like that to watch the game. So talk about a super spreader event, am I right? And, the NFL is a company that's really invested in their sort of hegemony over a sector of American entertainment. And they know that people are craving normal. 2020's got people tired. Social distancing is exhausting. Caution fatigue is a very real thing. And there might be more confirmed cases of caution fatigue than there are fucking COVID cases. I don't have the numbers on that. It's also a joke if you can't see that. But the NFL or ESPN pumps out an NFL commercial that I think really kind of shows their hand in just how willing they are to acknowledge your desperation as a tired American who just wants to watch football and appear to relate to it ostensibly, and then serve you up the panacea, give you the antidote to the existential just dread and uncertainty of 2020. And that's the ESPN commercial where it's a highlight reel of, they splice football players making crazy plays or doing wacky shit on the sideline together with fans, videos of fans just going absolutely batshit in their homes generally. So it's like shitty phone camera footage of dudes with beer bellies jumping up and down and you just generally overweight Americans like flopping around and screaming because their local football company is doing the good football. And it's to a Celine Dion song, which is funny. And also kind of absurd. And I think that's exactly what they're going for. It's like being reunited with a romantic partner that is a television program, which might be one of the most dystopian 2020 concepts of all time. But I'm willing to bet the little money I have that that's what it's like for a lot of people in the United States, because football is normal and people want normal, and we're getting like slow drips of normal. Most people are back to work in some way, shape, or form. The football's coming back. It's becoming a sort of a meme that COVID's over. Maybe not a meme, but I've definitely heard the off-color joke more than I'm comfortable that COVID's over. People are hanging out with their friends and going back to parties and doing shit and, worrying less about masks and things of that nature. COVID's over. Everybody wants to believe that. The only reason that anybody can justify saying that type of shit or acting that kind of way is because we're getting more normalized to this shit. Another example of that is, the stock market rebounding. I was reading last week, at the end of last week, The Motley Fool, which is like an investment like newsletter. It's these guys who just talk about stocks and shit. And they issued this super rare thing, what they call an all-in buy alert, which is, a recommendation to buy a stock that's super cheap right now. It's a tech company. It's a streaming company that I can't fucking find because I don't pay for their like premium subscription. But the significance of the all-in alert is that their track record on that, they've only issued it like 23 times or something like that before, and the average return after a few years on one of those stocks is like 1,100%, something like that. Companies that received that recommendation in their early days from the Motley Fool include Netflix. I want to say Amazon. A lot of tech companies, Google is one of them. They picked Google, which is fucking crazy. So they've got clout in the investment game. Buying single stocks is the equivalent of a slot machine. It's like lighting your money on fire. I don't recommend doing it. But my point is that we're now in an economic place, for those of you who invest, where things largely appear to have evened out from the like early COVID recession, or I shouldn't say recession because we're still in a recession, but the stock market hit, the absolute plummet that got a bunch of people losing their money and a lot of old people freaking out. The one that those senators like sold like all their shit immediately before because they knew about it. Anyways, market's going back up. There's people like the Motley Fool saying that there's a company that if you pay them, you can learn what it is in order to buy and then become rich, because that's normally the investor's dream, right? That type of shit is happening. You hear 45, Donald Trump hyping up the economy as though it glosses over the fact that we just hit 200,000 deaths in COVID. And overall cases, new cases reported are rising in 28 states. If I math that out right, that's over 50%. So most of America, most of the states in America are experiencing rising numbers of COVID. And on top of that, West Coast burning down. I just read an article that says the Arctic ice, sea ice shelf, whatever, like all of it, it just was recorded to have receded to its second lowest in the 42 years that we've been measuring that stuff. So all the ice is melting, the fires in California, the AQI here, air quality index, was wretched last week. But now that it's gone, the smoke, suddenly I get a couple days where I'm not even thinking about global warming at all. I haven't had personal anxiety over having COVID for a couple months now. So, even I slang a like COVID's over joke every now and again. I haven't heard about anybody getting run over in Seattle because they're protesting, or anything about the Capitol Hill autonomous zone, or I'm not hearing about Portland anymore. So things like the NFL and the new Justin Herbert era are allowing me to shift my brain over towards things I'd rather be thinking about and not about problems in the world. And that's probably good for my mental health overall, but there can be too much of a good thing. Things can be too good for your mental health. I firmly believe that. And companies that have ways of making money off your desire to go distract yourself are well aware that you want to be distracting yourself. So again, the Iridescent is here to bum you out and plead with you to stay informed, know the stakes, know how shitty of a situation we're in as a country and the world right now, and find ways to just promote that awareness and build your resentment towards the megalithic powers that be, just like fucking wringing you dry for every little dollar and cent they can, and time and value and labor and all that shit, just by offering you up the panacea of Sunday night football. Be aware of what it is to be a human, an American, and what the real existential risks are in 2020. Don't let yourself forget that type of shit just because the NFL's back. Don't let yourself forget that type of shit just because you're looking at your investment portfolio and you're not way in the red like you were a couple months ago. Keep wearing your mask. Keep reading the news. Save that Tiger King Halloween costume for next year. Probably leave out candy on your doorstep and just hope that shitty kids don't come and steal all of your stuff. Don't be answering the door on Halloween. I know it's a little early for that, but just stuff to be thinking about, Because the new normal involves a lot of scary shit, and don't ever forget that just because Sunday night football's back. Anyways, shorter episode. Just wanted to lecture you guys on that a little bit. Thank you for watching. This is Parker Brisebois. You're watching the Iridescent. Next episode coming soon. Peace.